RKK, and we have Kush Shi and John McDowell. Please give them a hand.
Thank you. So we want to thank you for listening to us this evening. I'm John McDowell, I'm the director of RKK's Fairfax office. Kush Vashi with me is a project manager on our highway team. We're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the projects we do. We do traditional roadway design work, like a lot of us in this room, but we also are doing a lot of stuff where we look at how we're building a community. Healthy, vibrant, and connected communities is the subject of this presentation today. I want to start out talking a little bit about RKK. We're celebrating our 100th anniversary this year, so we're really proud of that. The company was founded in a row home in Baltimore by three gentlemen you see across the top of the screen. I'm afraid you're going to ask me their names. But at any rate, we've grown to be 1,500 people in 30 offices, mostly in the Eastern Seaboard, but we've grown out to Texas, and actually what's not shown on here is an office that we opened last year in Denver, Colorado. We've achieved 100 years worth of growth through a client-focused delivery system for our work. We place our clients' needs as premier in the work that we do, and our growing national presence is evident of that. So with that, Kush.
Thanks, John. So as John mentioned, we're going to highlight a few projects here that kind of tie into the theme of community building and evolving traditional design. The first one here is the South Washington Street Plaza in Pulse Church. The image below is a glass panel and interpretive signs and graphics denoting the history of Pulse Church. This project included low impact design using rain gardens for our stormwater management, multimodal design, accounting for pedestrians, bikes, and transit users, as well as accessibility for our pedestrian and bike users. Here's a plan view. I don't know if you can read it on here, but items 8 are rain gardens. Items 5 and 7 are bike racks and bus shelters for our transit users and bicyclists. 11 is our crosswalks and ADA curb ramps, and all of this was designed using brick pavers to match the theme of downtown Falls Church. And here we have a graphic comparing our conceptual design with our final design. The bottom is conceptual, and the top is our final design. As you can see, I think we did a pretty good job. We've got the bus shelter in there, the interpretive signage, the benches, the rain gardens, the trees, and I believe the ribbon cutting for this is next Wednesday, if anyone's in Falls Church. And I'll hand it over to John to talk a little bit about BRT.
So another project we want to highlight is Richmond Highway BRT. This is actually 2 projects for us. We have one contract with VDOT where we're actually doing roadway widening for 3 miles of roadway in the Alexandria area, just north of Fort Belvoir. So I manage that contract on behalf of the firm, but we also have a separate team that is working based on our Baltimore office, actually working for Todd, on the BRT installation, which actually goes through our widening project and extends all the way up to Huntington Metro. The key feature about this project is that it's one of those projects that's designed for the whole community, for all the users. The county's looking at revitalization along this entire corridor. So we're looking for ways to provide for access and circulation for all users, because it includes 2-way cycle tracks, sidewalks, there's pedestrian plazas, and there'll be accessible transit stations along the way. This is a rendered image of what one of the intersections would look like in the improved section, where you see the BRT system is actually going to run in the median through most of the corridor. And you can see that there are 2-way cycle tracks on both sides of the road and sidewalks on both sides of the road. And pedestrian plazas will be provided at most of the intersections that will provide not only locations for people crossing the road, the bus stops, but also other features like bus racks, bike racks, and facilities like that. This project has gone through a lot of iterations. We've been involved in it for going on 7 years now. We started in 2016. And things have changed, like we looked at a road diet, so to speak, because pedestrian access to crosswalks became an important feature of this, where people were concerned about getting across there, so that we wanted the road to be not too wide. So there's limitations on the number of turn lanes and such that we put in the project. About early on in the project, we had one-way cycle tracks that were on each side of the road, and the concern came up about, well, people aren't going to want to cross the road to make a trip half a mile down the road and then have to cross back, so we modified the design to include two-way cycle tracks along the corridor. Right now, we are about 3/4 of the way, 80% of the way through the project design, and we'll start going into construction in 2025. This is a rendering of one of the stations that would show what the pedestrian experience, the user experience will look like when they access one of the stations. You see that there's a map on the side to show them where the destinations are, ticketing machine along there, as well as the access onto the BRT facility.
Thanks, John. Next project we want to highlight is the Clarendon Circle improvements in Arlington County. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this intersection. Again, on the theme of designing for all users, we installed separated bike and pedestrian crossings, realigned the intersection for better alignment for the cars, as well as shortening crossings for pedestrians. Had installed some safety improvements by widening the medians to provide refuge islands for the pedestrians, and we actually simplified the intersection configuration, eliminating one of the legs, so bringing it down from 6 to 5. And here we have the existing conditions with our concept. We held pretty true to this concept. There's just a slight modification, but it's pretty close to what we have as our final design. And you can see the green striping is the bike crossings. We have the widened medians on each leg, the refuge islands. The shorter crosswalks by realigning the intersection and making it a tighter geometry, as well as you can see North Irving Street there is now closed off and no longer part of this intersection. A couple of traffic flow improvements that we made was eliminating the reversible lane on the eastbound leg of Washington Boulevard, and we also restricted left turns from Washington to Wilson. The next project here we're going to highlight for healthy communities is the 26th Street Green Project. This is at Baltimore. What's interesting about this project was they actually closed this portion of the road due to a sidewalk failure, and the residents went to the DOT and they enjoyed using the open space while they were rehabilitating the sidewalk. But they asked the DOT if they could do something with that open space and create some sort of like community space. So the DOT agreed and brought in RKK to design an urban park in this area. RKK used consensus design, so we basically looked to the community to help provide input to this design. Everything you see here, from the style of the park, the furnishings, and the color, was all decided by the community through voting and surveys. And basically they closed off that street now permanently, and it's now a placemaking park. And the added benefit is the traffic calming for nearby Margaret Brent Elementary School. With shifting to a sustainability focus here, the next project we wanted to highlight was the Wayne Hill Water Resources Center. This is actually in Gwinnett County, Georgia. So they were having issues with standing water where they wanted to place their parking lot. So we were able to meet water quality and quantity for the 100-year storm and reduce stormwater runoff by using pervious concrete for the parking lot. And some additional drainage improvements we made was grading the parking lot so that any additional drainage for heavier storm events would flow to the inlet on the southeast that you see there. And we have a network of under drain under the pervious concrete in a stone layer as an additional measure for heavier rainfall. And this is a demonstration of the driveway surface runoff and then the pervious concrete where it just seeps right through. And you can still see the runoff on the driveway there. And the last project that we wanted to highlight was the Solo Gibbs Park project, also in Baltimore, adjacent to 395. This is in the historic Sharp-Leadenhall district. The image on the top is the park present day, and the image below is a map from 1890, where the red line is where the park is today. In this, what's unique about this project is the Baltimore Historic and Architectural Preservation Office actually asked RKK to perform an archaeological investigation, even though it wasn't necessary, because the community was very invested in the historic preservation of their community. So RKK came up with a detailed excavation plan where they detailed out 16 trenches that they were going to dig for their archaeological investigation while still maintaining access to the park. And I'm going to show you a couple of things that they found. So the image on the bottom left is the size of the trench that they were digging for each 16 of them. And the images on the bottom right and center are some of the remains and artifacts found through their investigations. And basically all the information gathered from the cultural and archaeological investigation and some of these artifacts are going to be used to create some interpretive signage and some displays to commemorate and tie in the history of this community, which is the Sharp-Leadenhall Historic District. And with that, I'll hand it back over to John to close it out.
Thank you. So we just wanted to show you today how we can work with our communities to help them build not only the facilities they need to get people where they want to go, but how we can add on to that to create healthy, vibrant, and connected communities for all users. We're proud of what we're doing here, and we look forward to continuing doing the service throughout. I want to thank you, and I want to borrow a phrase from Todd Lennox: we're hiring.
I have one.
Go ahead.
No,
In one of the pictures for the BRT, I see you guys have lanes and also bus shelters on either side. What is the reason for having the bus lanes in the middle and having bus shelters also?
Well, the BRT lanes are in the center of the road. The BRT is more like a longer distance bus travel, where the bus shelters on the side of the road are actually going to have local bus traffic for shorter trips and more access.